Why do you think these BRIC nations, why do they want to base their new currency on gold? Because they have a lot more faith in gold than the dollar. Well, if all the countries around the world that produce all this stuff want to use gold as their money, well, what does that tell you? That's what you want to buy.
Amidst global economic shifts, the appeal of gold as a currency foundation grows stronger. Schiff explains that nations like the BRIC nations are choosing gold over the dollar due to their unwavering faith in its value. This choice reflects a broader trend, a world preparing to trade dollars for gold. Schiff emphasizes the urgency to front-run this shift, to exchange dollars for gold before the inevitable occurs. Keep watching the video till the end. Let's get back to Schiff.
So the whole service sector economy is going to implode. So the GDP is going to collapse, but the debt doesn't collapse. The next recession, if it's led by a dollar crisis, a collapsing dollar, the debt to GDP is going to explode because our deficits, which are now, again, at a run rate of $3.5 trillion, maybe in the next recession, they become $6 trillion or $7 trillion. Imagine that. But then the economy actually contracts dramatically because all the imports are stopping because the dollar is imploding and we can't afford to buy anything. And so the service sector just crumbles. And so as your debt is exploding, your GDP is imploding. And then your debt to GDP really spirals out of control. And what about our net foreign obligations, our current account, which is going to go ballistic? We're going to have to pay all these interest payments abroad as the economy is collapsing because now, foreigners who own whatever bonds they had, we've got to make those payments. Now, of course, a lot of foreigners are going to be selling the bonds because those payments won't keep pace with inflation or, from their perspective, dollar depreciation. Once the dollar really starts to fall and you're, outside the United States, you really want to get rid of your treasuries. I mean, if you think the U.S. bond market is in trouble now, wait till you see what happens when the dollar starts to tank. Because the relatively strong dollar has been supporting the bond market. Because, again, as I've said, bonds are IOU dollars. That's all they are. So the treasury bond can't be any stronger than the dollars that they're obligated to pay. And confidence is key. And if people think that, hey, 4% or 5%, maybe we'll get there soon on a 30-year treasury, 10-year treasury, if that's not going to compensate me for 10 years of dollar depreciation, especially relative to my base currency, I'm not going to stick around. But again, all of these BRIC nations, to the extent that they de-dollarize, they don't need all of the trillions in treasuries they're hoarding right now. Why do they have all these dollars? Why have they been loaning us all the money? This is how the system works. People just don't get this. But not only did countries like China produce the stuff that we consumed, but they loaned us the money to do it. Because as we were running deficits so that we could import Chinese products, the Chinese took the money they earned and bought our treasury bonds, bought our mortgage-backed securities. So they loaned us right back the money that they earned selling us the stuff. So they sold us stuff that we couldn't produce, and then they loaned us money that we didn't save. And so America, we got to consume a lot of stuff that we didn't produce. We got to borrow a lot of money that we didn't save, right? We got the easy part of it. They did all the heavy lifting. That's all going to stop, right? The BRIC nations are having a summit. They got more nations on board. Right now, they've got Saudi Arabia. They've got the United Arab Emirates. There's a few other countries. Their influence is growing, right? And what do a lot of these nations have in common that are now, organizing together? They are our bankers. They buy our bonds. They supply us with all of our stuff, right? They're our biggest suppliers and our biggest lenders. And what are they meeting about? They're meeting about not lending us any more money, not supplying us with any more goods. What are they talking about? In addition to expanding, right, their economic sphere, what do they want to make the centerpiece of this expansion? A new currency for global settlements that is not the US dollar. I mean, hello. I mean, how big a bell do they have to ring? And what are they talking about? What do they want to tie their new currency to, if not the dollar? Gold, real money. What does that tell you? The world is waking up. And it's not just because, we sanctioned Russia. I mean, that's part of it. That's like a slap in the face, like, hey, you idiots, right? You got to get away from the dollar because look what we just did to Russia, right? You don't want that to happen to you, do you? So you better do something. But it's more than that. These countries, their leaders aren't a bunch of idiots. They don't want to go down with this ship. They don't want to have to keep accumulating dollars when they're going to just collapse in value. They can see that. They can see the runaway deficits, the complete lack of any fiscal discipline in Washington, or even lip service to fiscal discipline, because at least we had that before. It wasn't worth much, but that's what we had. We had the fact that we BS'd people. Well, we've stopped even doing that. And so what do you expect? So they're like, we got to, move on from this and do something. So again, what do? Buy yourself some gold. Gold about 1915. Let me see what it's doing here on Sunday night. Again, it's still very quiet in the gold market. The lull before the storm. Yeah, 1915, 1916. Look, we're not going down, and that means we're going to go up. If the market won't go down, up is the only path it's going to take. So before we explode, buy it. Silver's been a lot stronger. In fact, silver was up again on Friday. Even as gold finished down a few dollars, silver was up again. So we're starting to see some relative strength in the silver market, which is a good sign for the gold market. So buy gold and silver. Again, Schiff Gold is the place to go to buy that gold and silver. In fact, again, I think we probably have people working tonight that could take your order. But if not tonight, make sure you get in touch with them on Monday. Again, any day, I mean, this market could explode. There's no reason why it wouldn't. I think the downside risk at this point is pretty minimal in comparison to where I think this market is going to go. And in fact, why do you think these BRIC nations, why do they want to base their new currency on gold? Because they have a lot more faith in gold than the dollar. Well, if all the countries around the world that produce all the stuff want to use gold as their money, well, what does that tell you? That's what you want to buy. You want to buy what they're going to be buying. They're telling you. The BRIC nations and the Arab world, right? That was the heart of the petrodollar, right? This whole thing is disintegrating. But the world is getting ready to buy gold and dump dollars. So you got to front run that trade. This is the mother of all trades that you want to front run. You want to sell your dollars and buy your gold before that happens. And again, you want to diversify your portfolio. You want to get out of these overpriced U.S. stocks and bonds, and you want to get into foreign assets. It's assets. You need to preserve your wealth, get out of paper, get out of the U.S. financial assets, which I think are going to be dramatically marked down as the dollar collapses and the U.S., comes down off its pedestal here. And we have to reinvent ourselves again as a viable economy, which will not be easy in the political environment that we're in now. And so get your portfolio in real companies outside the United States that pay real dividends and have real earnings and can protect you from inflation. Again, you got to talk to the representatives at Euro Pacific Asset Management. My advisors can really help you prepare for this storm and just, weather it and just get the appropriate portfolio, especially if it's the dollar. If the dollar ends up being at the epicenter, which it wasn't in 2008, the dollar went up. Right? And that's why the financial crisis wasn't a lot worse. It would have been much worse had the dollar gone the other way. But the dollar was at a record low when the financial crisis started. And so it rallied. It's not at a record low right now. It's far from a record low. So now the risk is the dollar. And again, that's why I think that this isn't just going to be a garden variety, financial crisis.
Peter Schiff's insights unravel the intentions behind BRIC nations' pivot to gold-backed currencies, a testament to their faith in gold over the dollar. This global trend speaks volumes. Gold emerges as the desired asset. As nations gravitate towards gold and away from the dollar, Schiff's advice resonates: it's time to act. Seize the opportunity to trade dollars for gold, as Schiff aptly labels it, the mother of all trades. Diversifying into foreign assets becomes a shield against the looming dollar decline. Like and share if you have learned anything from today's video, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.